Hey viewers, welcome to African Tales by Affy. Please kindly click the subscribe button to get notified for more amazing stories. It was a bright morning in the village of Willowbrook. Birds chirped on the branches, the sun played peekaboo with the clouds, and Lena, a cheerful girl with two long braids and grass-stained shoes, was skipping down the path with a basket of bread. Off to Grandma's, she hummed, waving at the baker, the milkman, and the old woman who always sat knitting by the flower shop. But halfway through the path to her grandma's house, she heard something, a strange sound. Whimper, yip. Lena stopped. She tilted her head. The sound came again, like a soft cry. Curious, she tiptoed toward the bushes near the well. And that's when she saw him. A small, scruffy dog with one black spot over his left eye was tangled in a bush, whining and wagging his tail nervously. "Oh no!" Lena gasped. "You poor thing!" She gently reached into the thorny bush, speaking softly. "It's okay, little fella. I won't hurt you." The dog sniffed her hand, then gave it a small lick. "That's a good boy," she whispered. After a careful tug and a few scratched arms, she freed him. The dog sprang out and danced around her, his tail wagging so fast it looked like a blur. Lena giggled. "You're a mess. I'll call you Patch." Patch barked happily. Lena looked around. No one else was on the path. "Are you lost?" she asked him. "Where's your owner?" Patch tilted his head and sneezed. "Well, come on then," Lena said, brushing her skirt. "Let's find where you belong." They walked for a long time. Patch sniffed every tree, bush, and puddle. He chased butterflies, barked at birds, and made Lena laugh so hard she nearly dropped her basket. As they reached the end of the village, Lena noticed something unusual. Atop the hill stood a grand house, tall, stone walls, windows like shiny coins, and a gate so big it could swallow her whole. "Nobody goes up there," she whispered to Patch. "They say the man who lives there never comes out. He's rich. And scary. And alone." Patch wagged his tail and bounded toward the gate. "No, wait!" Lena called, running after him. But before she could stop him, the big gate creaked open. Out stepped a tall man in a neat gray coat, silver hair brushed to the side, and glasses that made his eyes look owly. He looked down at Lena. Then at Patch. Then back at Lena. "You found him," the man said quietly. Lena gulped. He was stuck in a bush. "I didn't know he belonged to anyone, he looked so sad." The man knelt down. Patch leaped into his arms and licked his face furiously. For a moment, the man smiled, really smiled. It changed his whole face. "I thought I lost him forever," the man said softly. "His name is Buttons. But you can call him Patch if you like." Lena blinked. "Really?" "Yes. He seems to like you." There was a long pause. "I'm Mr. Toma," he added. "And you are?" "Lena. I live by the river." Mr. Thomas stood up and cleared his throat. "Well, Lena, thank you. Truly. If you'd like to come inside, maybe have some lemonade? I'd like to hear how you found him." Lena hesitated. She looked up at the grand house. It still felt a little scary. But then Patch barked and licked her hand. She smiled. "Okay. But only for a little while. Grandma's waiting." Inside, the house was quiet and so clean it sparkled. Lena tiptoed in, her muddy shoes leaving prints on the marble floor. "Oops," she muttered. Mr. Toma chuckled. "Don't worry. Patch makes a much bigger mess." He brought her a big glass of lemonade and a cookie the size of her face. Lena's eyes widened. "This is the best lemonade I've ever had," she said with her mouth full. Mr. Toma sat across from her, sipping tea. No one said that in a long time. They talked for an hour, about dogs, about Willowbrook, about how Mr. Toma used to love climbing trees when he was young. Lena laughed so hard she snorted. Patch barked along. As she got up to leave, Mr. Toma said, "You can visit anytime." Patch would like that. Lena beamed. "I would too." And as she skipped back down the hill, Patch barking behind the gate, Lena had no idea that her one act of kindness had just opened the first page of a brand new story. It had been 3 days since Lena returned Patch to Mr. Toma. 3 whole days. And not one of those days passed without Lena thinking about the tall, quiet man with the soft voice and the big lonely house. Or Patch, who had tried to follow her home, tail wagging like a flag in the wind. Every time Lena passed the hill on her way to the market, she looked up at the house and wondered. Was Mr. Toma sitting by the window, sipping tea? Was he playing fetch with Patch? Was he lonely again? On the 4th day, as Lena helped her grandma knead dough, she finally asked, "Grandma, do you know Mr. Toma? The man on the hill?" Her grandmother paused, brushing flour from her hands. "Mr. Toma? Of course I know him. Everyone in Willowbrook knows of him. He's lived up there since before you were born. Rich, quiet, never married. People say he's grumpy, but," she smiled. "You know what I always say. Never judge a book by its slippers?" Lena guessed. Grandma laughed. "Close enough. Never judge a person until you've shared a pot of tea with them." Lena wiped her hands and stood up. "Then I think I'd like to borrow some sugar." Grandma raised an eyebrow. "We have sugar." Lena grinned. "I meant his sugar." The next morning, Lena marched up the hill, a small basket of cookies in hand and nervous butterflies fluttering in her belly. When she reached the gate, Patch was already there, barking joyfully. "Well, someone missed me," Lena giggled, petting him through the bars. The gate creaked open before she could knock. Mr. Toma stood there with a surprised look on his face. "You came back," he said. "I brought cookies," Lena replied, holding out the basket. "I thought maybe you'd like to share a pot of tea." Mr. Toma stared at the basket. Then at her. Slowly, his serious face softened. "I'd like that," he said quietly. Inside, the house felt less cold than the last time. The curtains were open. A soft fire crackled in the fireplace. Patch curled up by the rug, and Lena plopped herself on the armchair like she'd been doing it for years. As they sipped tea and nibbled cookies, Lena asked, "Why don't you ever come down to the village?" Mr. Toma sighed. "I used to, long ago. But people stare. They whisper. I don't know how to talk to them." Lena tilted her head. "You're talking to me just fine." Mr. Toma chuckled. "You're different. You talk like we're equals." "We are equals," Lena said firmly. "Just because you live in a big house and wear shiny shoes doesn't mean you're any better, or worse. You're just Mr. Toma. And I'm Lena. Simple." He nodded slowly. I suppose you're right. Lena smiled. Of course I am. Now, tell me something silly you did as a kid. They spent the afternoon swapping stories. Mr. Toma told her about the time he tried to fly using bedsheets and a ladder. It didn't end well. Lena told him about the time she accidentally brought home a frog thinking it was a special rock. It really didn't end well. They laughed until tears rolled down their cheeks. Patch barked along like he understood every word. As the sun dipped behind the trees, Lena got up to leave. Mr. Toma walked her to the gate. Lena, thank you. For what? For reminding me what it's like to talk. To laugh. To matter. Lena looked up at him, her face serious. You've always mattered. You just forgot. He blinked and looked away quickly, but she saw the shimmer in his eyes. Can I come back tomorrow? She asked. He smiled. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. That night, Mr. Toma stood by the window long after the stars came out. Patch lay at his feet, snoring softly. Mr. Toma whispered, She's not just a girl with cookies. She's a miracle. Meanwhile, down in the village, Lena lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I think he's sad, she said to the shadows. But not for long. And just like that, a friendship began, quietly, warmly, with cups of tea, silly stories, and a dog named Patch who brought two hearts together. Word travels fast in Willowbrook. By the end of the week, everyone, from the baker to the blacksmith, had heard about Lena visiting the man on the hill. And oh, the whispers! They swirled through the market like leaves in the wind. Did you hear? Little Lena has been having tea with Mr. Toma. Imagine that! That girl? In his house. I bet he's casting spells on her. Why else would she keep going back? I heard he has gold walls and diamond spoons. Lena heard it all. Some of it made her giggle. Some made her roll her eyes. But some made her feel small. One morning, as she skipped toward the hill with a basket of warm bread, 3 older girls from the village stepped into her path. Well, look who it is, said Marcy, the tallest. Lena the hill climber. Off to polish Mr. Toma's silver teapots, added Clara, with a smirk. Maybe he's making her his servant, whispered Elsie, pretending to gasp. Lena frowned. He's not like that. He's kind. And he tells great stories. Marcy folded her arms. Why would a rich man like him be friends with a girl like you? Because he likes people who aren't rude, Lena snapped, then walked around them, chin high. But their words stayed in her head like thorns in a sock. That afternoon at Mr. Toma's. But a few, just a few, smiled. And far up on the hill, in a once quiet house, something new began to grow. Laughter echoed through the halls as Lena and Mr. Toma tied ribbons to the staircase. Patch chased a string of bells. And for the first time in years, sunlight poured through every window. Mr. Toma looked out over the village and whispered, "Let them come." And deep inside his heart, something long forgotten began to bloom. The sun woke up early on Sunday morning, stretching golden rays over the rooftops of Willowbrook. The birds were especially chatty, as if even they knew something big was about to happen. And high atop the hill, the once silent house of Mr. Toma was buzzing like a beehive. Inside, Lena ran from room to room, hanging colorful ribbons and lanterns shaped like stars. She had made them all by hand the night before, some with paper, some with leaves, and one shaped like Patch's floppy ears. "Do you think they'll come?" Mr. Toma asked, adjusting his vest nervously in front of a mirror. "They will," Lena said, tying a pink ribbon to Patch's collar. "And if they don't, we'll still have a party, with extra cookies just for us." Mr. Toma smiled, but his eyes stayed on the front gate. The huge iron doors that had been closed for years now stood wide open, creaking just a little in the breeze. He hadn't left them open in decades. Patch barked once, as if to say, "It's time." At exactly 2 o'clock, the first footsteps crunched up the gravel path. It was old Mr. Bramley, the beekeeper. He held his hat in his hands like he wasn't sure he was allowed to wear it. Behind him came the baker and his son, holding a loaf of sweet bread as a gift. Then came Clara, Elsie, and even Marcy, looking like they'd swallowed lemons. By 2:30, the yard was filled with people. Children giggled, women pointed at the sparkling windows, and someone even started playing a fiddle. Mr. Toma stood near the front door, looking dazed. "They came," he whispered. Lena stood beside him, beaming. "Of course they did. People can be curious and nosy, sure, but they're also kind. They just needed a reason." He cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Welcome," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "Please, make yourselves at home." The villagers explored the house like it was a castle from a fairy tale. They gasped at the tall bookshelves, admired the paintings on the wall, and giggled at the hallway where Patch chased his tail. In the dining room, cookies disappeared faster than Lena could refill the plates. "I told you he wasn't scary," Lena said proudly to a group of kids. "He's just quiet. And sweet. And kind of silly." "Silly? Me?" Mr. Toma called from the other room. "I'm the most serious man in Willowbrook." "Is that so?" someone shouted. "Tell them the chicken story." Lena laughed. "Oh no," Mr. Toma groaned, covering his face as everyone gathered around. So he told them. About the time Patch stole a whole roast chicken and hid it in his slipper. About the time he tried to learn the flute and broke a flower vase. About the time he got stuck in a window trying to rescue a cat. And for the first time in many years, the house was filled with the sound of laughter. As the sun began to set and the lanterns started to glow, Marcy pulled Lena aside. "Hey," she said, looking awkward. "I was wrong." Lena raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "About you. About Mr. Toma. I thought it was weird that you two were friends, but now I get it." Lena smiled. "Thanks, Marcy." Marcy added quickly, "Also, do you think he'd teach me how to make those lemon cookies?" "Only if you promise not to eat all the dough," Lena teased. Later, as the last of the villagers waved goodbye and disappeared down the hill, Mr. Toma and Lena stood on the porch, Patch curled at their feet. "I never thought this house could feel like home again," he said softly. "It was always a home," Lena said, "just waiting for people to knock." He looked down at her. "You know, I used to think I didn't belong. Too quiet, too strange. But now I think maybe I was just waiting for someone brave enough to see past the gates." She leaned against his side. "Everyone belongs somewhere. You just had to let the right people in." "And you, Lena," he said, "you belong here too." She grinned. "I know. Patch told me." Patch barked as if to say, "That's true." From that day on, the house on the hill was never lonely again. Children came to visit Patch. Adults came for tea and laughter. And Mr. Toma? Well, he was no longer the mystery man. He was Mr. Toma, friend of Lena, cookie expert and village storyteller. And Lena? She was still Lena, muddy shoes, crooked braids, full of ideas and kindness, but now she was also the girl who opened the gates and brought a lonely heart back to life. And so, in the village of Willowbrook, where birds chirped and children laughed, everyone learned something important. Kindness doesn't care about money. Friendship doesn't follow rules. And sometimes, the biggest treasure of all is a girl with a basket, a dog with a patchy coat, and the courage to knock. Hello tribe, hope we enjoyed today's story. Please kindly put what you've learned in the comments section. Please remember to hit the like button, share this to your friends and family as well as subscribe to see you on the next one. Bye.